What if the biggest reason you're still struggling in trading isn't your strategy, but the goal you've been chasing all along? Most people believe successful traders win because they can predict the market better than everyone else. But the uncomfortable truth is that the market doesn't reward prediction, it rewards consistency. And until you understand why, you'll keep repeating the same cycle of hope, confidence, fear, and regret. Imagine waking up every trading day without emotional pressure, without chasing the next big win, and without letting one bad trade control your entire week. That level of confidence isn't reserved for gifted traders. It's built through a way of thinking that most people never discover, because they're too busy searching for the perfect indicator instead of fixing the person making the decisions. In this video, you'll uncover the hidden psychological shifts that quietly separate traders who burn out from those who grow stronger year after year. You'll learn why discipline often beats intelligence, why confidence is created before profit appears, and why the smallest change in your mindset can completely transform your results. But here's what makes this journey different. Each lesson builds on the one before it, and the final chapter reveals the most powerful principle of all, the one that quietly connects everything you've learned and can permanently change the way you approach every trade. Miss that final lesson, and you'll only see part of the picture. So if you've ever felt like you're working harder but getting nowhere, stay with this until the very end. And if this message challenges the way you think, let me know in the comments what consistency means to you. Share this with someone who's tired of emotional trading, and subscribe, because sometimes a single shift in perspective is worth more than 100 winning trades. Chapter 1. Why most traders never become consistent. Think about the last trade you took. Before you clicked the buy or sell button, what were you really chasing? Was it a well-planned opportunity, or the feeling that this trade had to prove something? Most traders believe inconsistency comes from using the wrong strategy. They spend months jumping from one indicator to another, changing time frames, buying expensive courses, and searching for a system that promises certainty. For a while, every new method feels exciting. It creates hope. It feels like the missing piece. But sooner or later, the same pattern returns. A few winning trades create confidence. Then one unexpected loss appears. Confidence turns into doubt. Doubt turns into hesitation. Hesitation leads to impulsive decisions. And suddenly, the trader who followed every rule yesterday is now chasing losses, overtrading, or abandoning the plan completely. The strategy changed, the charts changed, the market changed. But the real problem never did. The mind behind every decision stayed exactly the same. Imagine two traders using the exact same setup. They see the same chart, enter at nearly the same price, and face the same market conditions. One accepts next because every trade is only one small part of a much bigger journey. The other watches every candle with anxiety, hoping the market proves them right. The surprising part is that their results will likely become very different, not because of their strategy, but because of their psychology. When your emotional state depends on the outcome of a single trade, the market quietly takes control of your behavior. Every small movement feels personal. Every loss feels like failure. Every win feels like proof that you've finally figured everything out. That emotional roller coaster makes consistency almost impossible. Here's something interesting. The market doesn't know who you are. It doesn't care about your previous losses. It doesn't reward effort. It doesn't punish mistakes. It simply moves according to countless forces that no individual can fully control. The moment you expect certainty from an uncertain environment, frustration becomes inevitable. And frustration always demands action. That is why traders overtrade. That is why they ignore risk. That is why they break their own rules. Not because they lack knowledge, but because they cannot comfortably live with uncertainty. Consistency begins the moment you stop asking, "How can I make this trade a winner?" and start asking, "Can I execute my process the same way regardless of the outcome?" That single question changes everything. Because profitable trading isn't built one winning trade at a time. It's built one disciplined decision at a time. And once you understand that difference, you stop measuring success by today's result and start measuring it by today's behavior. But that raises an even bigger question. If consistency has so little to do with predicting the market, then what mental shift allows great traders to stay calm while everyone else is controlled by fear, excitement, and doubt? That's exactly where the journey leads next. Chapter 2. The mental shift that changes every trade. Imagine walking into the market with nothing to prove. No pressure to recover yesterday's loss. No desperate need to double your account. No fear that one mistake will define who you are as a trader. For most people, that sounds impossible. Why? Because somewhere along the way, they stopped seeing trading as a process and started treating it like a personal test. Every trade became a verdict on their intelligence, discipline, or potential. A winning trade meant I'm good enough. A losing trade whispered, maybe I'm not. Without realizing it, they tied their identity to outcomes they could never fully control. And that changes everything. Think about a professional athlete. They don't expect to win every single game. They train, prepare, compete, learn, and return the next day, ready to repeat the process. They understand that one result says very little about long-term success. Great traders think the same way. They don't expect perfection. They expect probability. That one mental shift removes an enormous amount of emotional pressure. Instead of asking, will this trade make me money? They ask, does this trade fit my plan? Those are two completely different questions. The first seeks certainty. The second seeks discipline. And discipline is something you can control. Here's where many traders get trapped. They believe confidence comes after a long streak of winning trades. But confidence built on winning is fragile. The moment losses appear, that confidence disappears with them. Real confidence is different. It comes from trusting yourself to follow your rules even when the outcome is uncertain. That kind of confidence cannot be taken away by one bad day. Picture this. You place a trade based entirely on your plan. The market moves against you, and your stop loss is hit. Have you failed? Most beginners would say yes, but an experienced trader often sees something completely different. They see a successful execution. The trade lost, the process won, and over time, it's the process that creates consistent results. This is why emotionally mature traders don't celebrate every profit or mourn every loss. They pay attention to something much more important, the quality of their decisions, because results can be random in the short term. Behavior rarely is. Every time you respect your plan, you're strengthening a habit. Every time you ignore it, you're strengthening a different one. The market isn't just revealing your strategy, it's revealing your character, your patience, your discipline, your emotional control. The fascinating part is that these qualities don't suddenly appear after you become profitable. They are the very qualities that make profitability possible in the first place. So the real question isn't whether the next trade will be a winner. The real question is whether you'll become the kind of person who can repeat the same disciplined behavior hundreds of times without letting temporary outcomes change who you are. Because once that transformation begins, the market starts feeling very different. Not easier, not more predictable, but far less intimidating. And that leads to the next discovery. How to remain calm and decisive even when every trade carries uncertainty, and why learning to embrace the unknown may be the greatest advantage any trader can ever develop. Chapter 3. Mastering Uncertainty. Without fear or hesitation. Most traders don't fear losing money. They fear not knowing what will happen next. And that's exactly where the battle begins. Think about it. Every time you enter a trade, your mind immediately starts searching for certainty. It wants proof that you're right. It wants every candle to move in your favor. It wants reassurance that you made the perfect decision. But the market owes you none of those things. The moment you expect certainty from something that is naturally uncertain, anxiety quietly takes over. You begin watching every price movement as if it carries a hidden message about your future. A small pullback feels like disaster. A tiny profit feels too valuable to lose. Before long, you're closing winners too early, holding losers too long, or changing your plan in the middle of the trade. None of these decisions come from logic. They come from discomfort. Here's something powerful. Uncertainty is not the enemy of trading. It's the very reason opportunity exists. If every outcome were guaranteed, there would be no risk. And without risk, there would be no reward. The uncertainty that makes you uncomfortable is the same uncertainty that makes consistent profits possible. The traders who understand this stop fighting reality. Instead, they learn to work with it. Imagine a skilled surfer standing in front of the ocean. They don't waste energy trying to control the waves. They know that's impossible. Instead, they study the rhythm, prepare themselves, and respond to whatever the ocean brings. Trading works the same way. You cannot control the market. You can only control your preparation, your execution, and your response. That realization creates an incredible sense of freedom. When you no longer expect every trade to be a winner, losses stop feeling personal. They become part of the process instead of proof that something is wrong with you. This is where emotional stability begins, not by eliminating losses, but by accepting them before they happen. Professional traders understand something that many beginners overlook. Every trade is simply one event in a long series of events. One outcome means very little. 100 disciplined decisions reveal the real picture. That's why they never allow a single trade to define their confidence. Their focus stays on consistency, not perfection. And here's the surprising part. The more comfortable you become with uncertainty, the less emotional your decisions become. Fear loses its grip. Greed becomes quieter. Patience becomes natural. You stop reacting to every candle because you understand that no single moment determines your future. Instead of chasing certainty, you begin trusting your process. Instead of forcing results, you allow probabilities to play out over time. That is the mindset that separates emotional traders from consistent ones. But there's still one final transformation left. Because knowing how to think isn't enough if your identity still belongs to the old version of yourself. Lasting consistency begins when you no longer act like someone trying to become successful, but like someone who already lives by the habits, discipline, and standards of a consistently profitable trader. And that final shift changes everything. Chapter 4. Building the identity of a consistently profitable trader. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the exact same trading account, the exact same strategy, and the exact same market in front of you, but one thing has completely changed. The person making the decisions. At first, that may not sound like much, but in reality, it changes everything. Most traders spend years trying to improve their results without ever improving the identity behind those results. They tell themselves, "Once I become profitable, I'll be disciplined." Or, "When I finally make enough money, I'll stop making emotional decisions." But life rarely works that way. Your future results are usually a reflection of your current habits, not your future goals. A consistently profitable trader doesn't wake up one morning transformed by a lucky streak. That identity is built long before the profits become visible. It is built every time they follow their plan instead of their emotions. Every time they respect risk instead of chasing excitement. Every time they choose patience over impulse. Those moments may seem small, but they quietly shape who they become. Think about someone learning to play a musical instrument. They don't become skilled by imagining the performance. They become skilled by practicing the same fundamentals over and over until the correct actions feel natural. Trading is no different. Every decision is a vote for the kind of trader you're becoming. Break your rules often enough, and your mind begins to believe that impulsive behavior is normal. Honor your process consistently enough, and discipline becomes part of your identity instead of something you constantly struggle to maintain. This is why successful traders don't rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Habits stay. Identity stays. Here's something worth remembering. The market will continue to surprise you. There will always be unexpected news, sudden volatility, and trades that don't work. But when your identity is built around preparation instead of prediction, those surprises no longer shake your confidence. Because your confidence isn't based on being right. It's based on knowing you'll respond the right way, no matter what happens next. That is true emotional freedom. You stop chasing the feeling of certainty. You stop needing every trade to validate your ability. You stop measuring your worth by today's profit or loss. Instead, you measure success by one simple question. Did I act like the trader I want to become? If the answer is yes, then you've already won something far more valuable than a single profitable trade. You've strengthened the mindset that can produce thousands of disciplined decisions over the years. And that's how consistency is built. Not through one perfect strategy, not through one life-changing trade, but through a lifetime of repeated intentional behavior. So the next time you open your trading platform, remember this. The market is never asking whether you're smart enough. It's quietly asking whether you're consistent enough, because anyone can have a winning day. But only those who master their own mind can build a lifetime of winning habits. And in the end, the journey from zero to a consistent trader doesn't begin with a better chart. It begins with becoming a better decision maker.